Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I'm Pastor Mark Baze. Thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you. I hope that you like the different camera angle. It's a little bit wider. It's because I had to move the camera. So if it looks different to you, that's why. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And I don't think it's crooked. I think it's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. It's great to have all of you with us today. Now, we had a fun service yesterday. We covered a new session on our Sunday school series, Deceived Has Christianity Become a Cult? Reinterpreting and Altering the Bible, Part 2. And that was session number 8. I would encourage you to take a look at it if you haven't, and you might be surprised to find just how much in common modern mainstream Christianity, their Bible versions, how similar they are to a cult translation, such as Jehovah's Witness. So, really eye-opening, hopefully, really shocking, and maybe it inspires somebody to investigate the matter further. Tell people about it, because just a lot of people don't even know. We also finished Hosea, so I can tell you now, very, very happy to say that if you were to go to markbazeministries.org, or if you go to Mark Baze YouTube channel, you will see over here, if you go right over here, Hosea verse by verse, all 22 sessions are up on there. I don't know why it's labeled in numbers like this, but yeah, it's all there though, except for, okay, I'm going to have to talk to Nathan. There must have been some issue there. Oh yeah, I recall when we first started Hosea. But YouTube certainly has all the sessions, and we'll get all of the Hosea sessions put up on there as well. So thank all of you for for joining us for the study in Hosea. I think it was a good time. Just really emphasizing that if you'll just study the Bible, you will be a dispensationalist. It's really not that hard, okay? The gateway to dispensationalism is just studying the Bible instead of going first to the commentaries, all right? So, yes, also clean-shaven. I know. The truth is I just did a real self-assessment and realized that my beard was getting to the point where I either needed to trim it because it was getting a little bit scraggly looking, or I needed to just shave it off entirely, and I opted for the latter. Okay, now, what we're going to be talking about today, I don't know how long the show will go today, because it's really kind of a single issue matter, okay? I'm going to give you my thoughts. The thing I'm going to be talking about, I'm not going to be talking about so much the Super Bowl or any of the commercials, and I don't know about any of them because I didn't watch it, all right? This was one of the past couple years, I've caught some of the Super Bowl. One of the things is Super Bowl is on a Sunday, and very often I'm busy working Sunday night. We had a business meeting last night, and so I just don't always get to catch the Super Bowl. So I don't know what commercials there were. Did he gets us do some other really progressive hippie Jesus type propaganda? I don't know. Did they? You tell me. Did you watch the Super Bowl? Heard the game wasn't that great. Apparently the Patriots couldn't score. And so, unfortunate. But I didn't watch it. I really honestly am at the point where, who cares? Who cares? I would rather watch college football, quite honestly. And even then, so much about our modern sports. It's frustrating to see the often lack of sportsmanship that's on display. And I've kind of lost interest, especially with college football now becoming so... I'm trying to think of the term. I don't know if it's commercialized or it's always been commercialized, but the NIL, there's no loyalty to teams. It's all frustrating. What I'm going to spend some time talking about, though, is evangelical influencers. All right? That's who I want to talk about. And you may know them, you may not. There's various famous evangelical influencers out there. But I'm going to make an observation for you. And that observation is they are jokes. Whoever it is. All right, whoever it is. And let me define an influencer, because I think there is a difference. An influencer is somebody who is heavily involved on social media, and they make a lot of post about everything, okay? They're posting every single day. They've got something that they want to tell you. And it is specific to social media. Now, YouTube is kind of sort of social media, but I'm talking about more so Instagram, X, TikTok, to another degree, Facebook, even though Facebook's, for the older folks to share pictures of their kids, and that's what Facebook should be for. But with that, these evangelical influencers are a joke, okay? They just are. And I'm going to explain why. So, an evangelical influencer, I'm going to pick on Honest Youth Pastor, okay? Honest Youth Pastor. I'm just going to go ahead and show you here. He is going to be in my line of fire today. Now, I will also say there's others, such as John Piper. John Piper is a pastor, but he does a lot of posting too. We may get to John Piper before it's all said and done. But Honest Youth Pastor, I don't know. He's probably got more followers on Instagram, if I was to guess. So we'll go ahead and go over to Instagram. Yeah, I have an Instagram. It is what it is. Let's see here. If we go over to the Honest Youth Pastor page, just to give you an idea of the kind of influence these influencers have and kind of what their shtick is, right? What do they do? So if we go and look up Honest Youth Pastor, obviously, I don't know if this guy is an actual youth pastor. His name is Michael Moore, I guess. He may be an actual youth pastor. He just posts stuff from a youth pastor perspective. And so here's his Instagram. 6,306 posts. Now, I don't know how long ago Honest Youth Pastor started posting. I'm just trying to do like some very simple math in my head right now. And it's always difficult to do on the spot. But that's at least, that's well over 6 years worth if you were posting every day for 6 years. And it's probably even more than that. I'm being a little bit conservative. I did some quick thinking in my head. I don't know when the Honest Youth Pastor Instagram page started. Let's just say it started 6 years ago. At the very least, he's posting once a day for 6 years. Now, obviously this helps because you can see he's got 225,000 followers. That is what you call an influencer. All right, his whole deal, helping believers use biblical discernment, and that's kind of his whole thing, right? He speaks on events and whatnot, and he's really seen, I would say, by many. If I was just to look here, I'm not going to pull this up for you to see, but there's a number of people who follow Honest Youth Pastor, people that would like to have some respect for. The Babylon Bee follows the Honest Youth Pastor. So he's really seen as somebody who is speaking from a real sound Christian perspective, right? What would the Honest Youth Pastor say? A youth pastor who has a good grip on biblical values, moral principle, and he will make comments about these public type events. Now, I want to point to you this Instagram post that he made yesterday. Actually, this was made like an hour ago. But anyways, this is his tweet here, but he shares his tweets on Instagram. To my shame, I often don't follow my own advice, meaning I'm prone to react, then to wait and see the entire context of a given situation. I know it's a dumb idea to post about things I haven't seen the full context of, yet I do it all the time. Still learning Titus chapter 2. So what is that in regard to? What is he talking about here? Well, the honest truth is, the Honest Youth Pastor has deleted the post that he made previously. I think that you should just own it, okay? You should just own it if you make a post that is inaccurate. Now, I made a comment to the Honest Youth Pastor, and he deleted this post. But the essence of the post was, listen, if you've got Kid Rock singing about all sorts of, decadent, depraved behavior at your alternative halftime show, and then you talk about Jesus, this shows a major problem with conservative Christianity in America. And they'd post like a laughing emoji or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, but that's about all I can do, because you'll see the post was deleted by the author. I think if you just make a bad statement, just let it stand. Just let it stand. If you delete it, it almost makes it look worse. That way people can go back and see what you said. Just own it. Paul owned it, right? He didn't, never speak of it again, and especially using vague terminology, right? If you go back to that Instagram post, Honest Youth Pastor, he didn't even speak to what he had to say. You've got this long post here. Here we go. Okay, so he includes it here in his Instagram post. That's good. If you're wondering, that happened last night, right after the halftime. The post was about the Turning Point USA halftime show, which I only saw part of. I made a post on X, went to bed, and woke up to a ton of messages about how I'd clearly not seen the show. Okay. He doesn't include what he actually said. All he said is, I made a post about the Turning Point halftime show. Here's the thing, okay? Let me first show you my response to the Honest Youth Pastor. My thoughts were, if you only showed as much grace to Kid Rock as you do to leftists, you evangelical influencers are a joke. And I stand by that statement. Evangelical influencers like the Honest Youth Pastor are a joke. Now, if he wants to have me on the show, if he wants to come on my show, that's fine. I'm going to stand by my position, though, all the same. And if he wants to try to change my mind, then by all means, but I doubt that he's going to see this, because YouTube keeps deleting my followers. Anyways, so if you have not seen the Turning Point USA halftime show, and if you're watching this and you have watched the Turning Point USA halftime show, you will know what I'm talking about. Kid Rock, who I've never been a big fan of Kid Rock, never made a difference to me. I was too young, I guess, to really follow any of his stuff, and also his music probably my mom wouldn't have let me listen to anyways. But he has come out as a very strong conservative in recent years, and speaking to matters of God and Jesus Christ and things like that. Turning Point USA, there was a number of other singers. Some of it, I don't really care for. It was a little bit... is whatever. I'm not a fan of country rap or whatnot. But Kid Rock comes out and he's singing one of his hit songs, like his biggest song. And this song has over 60 million views on YouTube. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's a song talking about very inappropriate behavior. Okay, we wouldn't call that good Christian behavior at all. After he goes out and does that, though, then out comes a violinist and I believe someone playing the cello, and they play this really beautiful music, very classical type music. And then Kid Rock comes out again, but he's not in his persona of Kid Rock. Obviously, he was not born and his parents said, "I shall call you Kid Rock." Rather, he comes out and he's dressed normally. I wish I had a picture for you so you could see it. He's not wearing, like I said, his crazy, eccentric outfit. He's just wearing normal clothes, and he comes out by his actual name, not his stage name. And I can't remember, what is Kid Rock's name? Something like Richie. His name is Robert Ritchie. Okay, so Kid Rock comes out as Robert Ritchie, his actual name, and he sings a song, Till You Can't. I think we've probably heard the song before. And I'm not speaking to how good the Turning Point USA show was. Ken says it was kind of weird. I think we're probably... I am of a kindred spirit with you, Ken, because I was also born already quite old, and I have a taste for older style stuff. I think country music that was made after 1989 is largely a mistake, with some good music coming out in the 90s. But with that, The Turning Point USA show, however you feel about it, the point of it was that Kid Rock really kind of portrayed there, Robert Ritchie, as we should say, is, hey, that's who I was, singing about all this, scoundrel type things. And now let me tell you about Jesus. And, one of the nice things Michael Knowles pointed this out, that Catholic, it wasn't the watered down, almost universalist thing like Jesus loves you and isn't this great? Jesus died for your sins, which is all true. But there is the matter of you will go to hell if you don't believe the gospel. And so he's singing this song Till You Can't, and he adds this extra verse to the song, and it's you can believe in Jesus and you can be forgiven, and we could talk about the minutiae of some of the doctrinal implications there, but anyways, until you can't, right? That right now, today is the day of salvation. Receive the gospel now. It wasn't bad, okay? It wasn't bad for a big, ecumenical or even secular type event. But honest youth pastor, he's so quick to pull the trigger, right? And just denounce, conservative Christianity, having Kid Rock singing about, ladies dancing and not wearing a lot of clothing or no clothing, whatever. And then talks about Jesus. This is the state of conservative Christianity. And then a whole bunch of people called him out about it and said, did you not watch the whole thing? Did you not kind of see what was being portrayed there? Like, art is a thing, okay? These shows are never done, I should say never. A lot of these shows are done with a whole lot of planning and the symbolism and whatnot. That's why whatever was played on the Super Bowl halftime show, every bit of that was selected very carefully. There was a reason why I know his name, Bad Bunny, sang in Spanish. There's a reason why there was this great emphasis on, South Americans, right? Hey, just open it up. We're all Americans, right? Just open up the border, bring them all in. Don't care about the drugs and the human trafficking and everything else. Just bring them all in, okay? Won't you do that? And, Bad Bunny over there said, God bless America. That was not a good Spanish accent, but I can't do a good one. And so he then takes that statement, God bless America. God bless America. There you go. That's maybe a little bit better. But then he starts listing off all the South American countries. And then he finally gets to America or the United States. And then he throws in Canada in there, right? So, hey, it's all America. It's the entire Western Hemisphere. Let us all unite and come together. By unite and come together, I mean let us all live in your country. And so with all of that, that's all chosen for very specific reasoning. It's trying to send a message. Well, the Turning Point USA show and how Kid Rock, Robert Ritchie, arranged, ordered, all of that was done for a reason. Okay, regardless of how you feel about it, was it done perfectly? I'm not the one to say much to it because I didn't watch the whole thing in totality, but I watched enough to get the essence of it. And so when the honest youth pastor made his ignorant comment, I just gave this comment right here. If only you showed as much grace to Kid Rock as you do to leftists, you evangelical influencers are a joke. Got 717 views, 16 likes. I would have gotten a lot more if it wasn't deleted. Does the comment still stand on my my page though? Yeah, it's still up there on my page. You can go to my page and watch it. Here is the truth. People like the Honest Youth Pastor, evangelical influencers, they always show their stripes. It always comes through every single time. They are never quick. Never. They never make the mistake of jumping on a leftist. Okay, have you noticed that? Just take some time. I don't know how online you are, but even not even then, just watching the news or what have you, some well-known pastor or whatever, they are never making the mistake of criticizing the left too early. The left can come out and say, hey, boys can be girls. And the honest youth pastor, those like him, will say something along the lines of, well, let's show love. Let's just show patience to them. Jesus loves them. Have grace. Have mercy. We need to pray for these people. If they say anything about it at all. They don't really... I don't know. I mean, I could probably scroll through a whole bunch of the honest youth pastor, and I don't know that I'm going to find anything about defending traditional marriage. He's got posts complaining about Trump here. He's complaining about Trump being a bad leader. Epstein files, very good. Let's see here. The prophets were deeply distressed by their nation's sin. We fearlessly confronted kings, leaders, and people about their sin. The main purpose was to call the people to repent and turn to God's ways as believers are as concerned. Do we react the same way? I guess he had a typo there. Okay. Kind of vague. It could go any direction. He has no particular statement towards it at all. Okay, here's another statement. Conservatives and progressives assume things about each other that are objectively false, but they have to believe they're true in order to justify their criticism of the other side. We've gotten to the point where we're making it up. We're making up with the other things just so we can fight. And then he comes over here. Yes, there are real and meaningful differences that need to be honestly discussed, but the blatant lying about one another gets us nowhere, is actually understanding why the other believes the way they do. Do all progressives want open borders? No. Question that assumption just a little bit. Progressives, we're not talking about a traditional liberal here. We're talking about progressives. I would imagine most progressives are for open borders. Do all conservatives die hard MAGA? It's weird how he types. It's hard for me to... I feel like I'm giving myself a mini stroke trying to read his writing. But do all conservatives die hard MAGA? No. Okay. The problem is MAGA... Our biggest issue with MAGA is it's not quite conservative enough. It's almost a little bit too pro-big government still. So if we're going to critique MAGA, the problem is not it's too far right. It's not right enough. Here's an idea. How about asking someone what they believe and why instead of assuming? No straw men, no broad brushing complex issues, no assuming these aren't serious people. One of the interesting things is he completely denounces MAGA, but he does not denounce progressives. He said not all progressives want open borders, but MAGA though, they can't be MAGA. Not every conservative is MAGA. Don't think that. It's so silly. His bias is just very obvious. Let's continue on here. Supporting the deportation of illegal immigrants is actually fulfilling the command to love your neighbor. So here we go. Maybe he's actually taking a strong take here, supporting the deportation of illegal immigrants. Let's see what he has to say on the side here. I don't say this lightly. Most of you aren't going to like it. What's interesting is that this is just a more direct way to say what I stated 4 posts back. Let's walk through this because it's important we understand what the scriptures say and wisdom God expects of us as believers to use in a variety of situations. Let's start in Romans 13. Let's see here. Talking about the role of government. I'm going to paraphrase some of this. In the second half, Paul talks about the believer's duty in that nation culture. Here, Paul draws from Leviticus 19:18 and Jesus' summary in Matthew 22:39 through 40. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if that's really a good cross-reference there. In short, this love is a deliberate and willful action to seek others' overall good, not merely their emotional good. That sounds well enough, but let's look at application. Paul selects commands that directly harm neighbors when violated, demonstrating that loving our neighbors sometimes means pointing out their sin for their own good and correcting them when they do sin. Often this correction takes on some form or action to reconcile the sin. Continues talking a little bit. I'm not finding all that to be all that deep. Now let's look at this concerning the current immigration discussion. While doing so, we should also lawfully push back against wrongful and or illegal arrest and detentions, as well as want those rightfully detained to be treated in a humane and dignified way. Additionally, we should want just laws to be made and followed. All three of these are done for the benefit and love of our neighbors as well. You may not want to hear it, but far more often than not, loving our neighbor looks like doing or saying the hard things no one else wants to do. Once again, that's how he types it. It's a little bit strange. So there's one post that we found so far where he is like, hey, they're breaking the law, so they need to follow the law. Very good. Okay, we've set a very high bar. Okay, the high bar is, hey, the law needs to be enforced. So very good for honest youth pastor. Let's continue on to just look at some examples that he has here, some other posts that he may have. Okay, so maybe he's going to talk about Tim Walz a little bit. I would contend that it is nothing short of God's goodness and mercy toward the American people that Tim Walz didn't become vice president. Okay, so he has a few things regarding Tim Walz here. Just a random thought of mine, but I think it's worth sharing as I look back at what could have been. Helps us reflect on how God works in our world. First of all, not great theology, believing that God's pulling all the strings and controlling who's in the White House. Let's see here. Oh, and then, okay, let's see here. Before you go off to the comments to go off, let me share with you that someone replied to me on X. They said in their reply, I would contend that it is nothing short of God's judgment and righteous anger toward the American people that Trump and Vance are President of the United States and Vice President of the United States. And perhaps they're surprised. I would say that both can be true at the same time. See, there you go. He never can commit. It's always, both sides have their problems. We need to be above politics or whatever. He's always going to play the middle of the road position there, pleasing everyone in a lot of ways. Most of won't or can't know what God's mercy or judgment is until further down the road. See, he's a Calvinist, honest youth pastor is. His position is. Here's what we do know. Walt signs the following into law in his state, and if he had any say as VP, he would have very likely encouraged it at a federal level. The Protective Reproduction Options PRO Act. So there we go. At least he's acknowledging, hey, abortion's bad. Gender-affirming care for minors. Okay, good. Conversion therapy banned for minors. Sanctuary status for abortion providers and patients. Walz also demonstrated his willingness to discriminate against faith-based education with post-secondary enrollment options. The only reason it didn't take effect was due to it being struck down by the federal courts. Walt's legislative record reflects a consistently progressive stance on issues of sexuality, reproduction, and gender, all areas where Christian teaching emphasizes the created order, parental authority, and the beginning of life. You don't have to agree with everything the Trump administration does. God knows I don't, but as a believer, I, for one, is grateful, am grateful. Once again, I'm going to get a mini stroke trying to read his post here. I'm grateful that in God's good purposes, He did not place Walz in a position of power of this country. So this is weird, right? He says he's very critical of Trump, but it's a good thing Walz isn't in power. But yet, I'm not happy that Trump's in power either, right? And God's judging us for having Trump in power. I would love to hear him articulate that further, but you don't get that. Instead, it's just, well, we don't really know. We have no way of knowing how this may work out in the long. How do you know, honest youth pastor, that actually we'd have been better off if Tim Walz would have been vice president? See, you can't know when you take those kind of positions. When you just say, well, it's by God's grace he's not the vice president. Also, God is judging us because Donald Trump is president. How can you know that? It's just, I feel like it's self-contradicting. And so, once again, he's never going to take a hardline position in any specific way. Let's see, is there anything else that's much all that deep? Making some funny posts, I suppose. Okay, I guess he is willing to speak out about Islam, so there you go. Islam is an evil religion. They openly admit that in an Islamic nation you'd be killed for being a Christian. Okay, very good. Credit there. Now, he's going to walk it back a little bit probably here. This isn't a bad statement, I suppose. Many will state that there is a Muslim majority, that there are Muslim majority countries that don't kill Christians, yet the existence of Muslim majority countries where Christians aren't killed does not erase what the sources in formal law actually say. For example, classical Sunni jurisprudence, such as what the man referred to here, developed on the basis of hadith and Quranic interpretation, that adult public apostasy from Islam deserves death is correct. Okay, so there you go. He's taking a good take there. I'll give him credit where credit's due. Okay, and then here you go. Here's an interesting statement here. Social media is full of young Christian men that are the unfortunate embodiment of, for though you have countless guides in Christ, you do not have many fathers. They listen to Christian podcasters more than their own pastors and donate to Patreons rather than their churches. I take the controversial position that a lot of our churches aren't worth your time or money. So anyways, after... oh, here we go. Here's a post. We're going to get GTA 6 before we get the Epstein files, and that's a travesty. So there you go. That's a internet meme about some video game, GTA 6, which I've never played that game or that series at all and don't care about it at all. But yeah, there you go. Trump's right up there with Epstein. I'm going to digress from all of this. But I just wanted to get a point across here. And I'm just going to say that when they jump, using a football analogy here, when they jump, it's always jumping at those who are of a conservative position. They never make an early mistake criticizing those of the left. Why is that? It's because at the end of the day, they have more of a progressive worldview. They think that the true biblical approach is the false concept of compassion that the left promotes. We know the left doesn't really promote compassion at all. Everything is a ploy. Everything is an effort to buy your votes. We don't need to require voter ID or voter registration in a more strict sense because, people of color just don't know how to do that. I mean, how racist is that? That you're claiming that somebody, just because they're of a different race, that voter ID affects people of a different race more because somehow that's more difficult for them? Whereas those who want voter ID believe that all men are created equal, and therefore a healthy male or woman who does not have some kind of severe mental hindrance has the ability to go get voter ID. This is not a hard thing. And so that's just one example that I'm trying to point out to you of these evangelical influencers who act as if they really are a source of strong authority on matters of doctrine. They know what the Bible says and they know how to apply it in our day and time. But that's just really not the case. They prove themselves time and again that they are more so out to speak out against conservatism and a more fundamentalist approach to the Word of God. And they do kind of take a more social gospel approach. The Honest Youth Pastor, he's maybe one of the better ones, but that's kind of why I'm targeting him. Because even as one of the better ones, you still see that there's this bias. Okay? You still see that. Good for him on speaking out against Islam. That's great. Good for him on speaking out about enforcing immigration law. That's fine. But the truth is at the end of the day, when he makes a quick post without thinking it through, who is it that he's going after? And that's very telling. That's very telling. Tim says, love it, Mark. Evangelicalism is a stain on truth. Absolutely. Jerry says, I'm a former rock musician, and the Turning Point show wasn't much different than the big bunny trash. I don't care for either. Trying to blend pop culture with Christianity is not helpful. Yeah, we are a minority of folks. There's a lot of the people who just thought it was great. I would probably take the Turning Point USA, obviously over the, no, I wouldn't probably. I've seen some clips and heard some things that were going on in the halftime show at the Super Bowl. Give me the Turning Point USA one by far. But it's not like I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I don't like the combination of country music and rap, and that's always annoyed me. So I do agree, though. It is just a lot of rock music. That rock music's of the devil now, I tell you. LWM, I'm trying to remember who you are, LWM. I'm sorry. Okay, it's hard to remember when your name is LWM20 and not somebody's name. It says Kid Rock's pastor is Paula White. That explains it all. Yeah, I mean, bless his heart. Paula White. She seems to have her hands in every cookie jar, doesn't she? But once again, it wasn't as blasphemous, I would say, as what the honest youth pastor wanted to make it out to be. Ken says, my son Ryan, who has cerebral palsy and autism, has an ID. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to be very low functioning to not be able to have ID. And I guess they just assume that I guess they're assuming that people of color have less mental capacity than someone who has actual physical disabilities as well as mental disabilities. That's clearly what they're saying, okay? Man, the Democratic Party always showing their racist side, the party of slavery, after all. It's quite amusing. These jokes write themselves. Once again, though, there's so many other examples of these supposedly conservative Christians, but every time I guess they would say, they say they're biblical Christians, and being a biblical Christian would just inherently mean that you are going to be conservative, because the Bible is conservative. A man is a man, a woman's a woman, traditional marriage, the value of life. Really not a socialist view, because you cannot have utopia here on earth. The Bible's very consistent on that. If we continue, looking at some other examples, here's one from John Piper. John Piper, once again, jumping out on this deal. Not to be so afraid of sounding quasi-woke that one cannot agree with Russell Moore on this. When you're agreeing with Russell Moore on almost anything, that means that you are wrong. You're making a mistake. So yeah, don't ever agree with Russell Moore. Russell Moore says, racist, deranged, humiliating to our country. The fact that, what does Russell Moore actually sound like? I don't think I've ever even listened to Russell Moore talk, because I've never been in the mood of wasting time in my life that I'll never get back. So I'm just going to give him a super nerdy voice. Racist, deranged, humiliating to our country. The fact that we have decided to pretend to this is normal every day is a moral abomination. Have we any shame? And every day an entire generation is being told it is Christian to, and then I guess he continues on talking. I don't really know the rest of the post there. Christian to support us. God have mercy on us. Now, the post there from Donald Trump, it's actually a screenshot there. This is not Donald Trump's actual post, okay? Here's the thing. Donald Trump on his, X or whatever had a video that played. And Megan Basham, who is just fantastic. Be praying for her as she's battling health issues right now. Megan Basham is excellent. She has a book, I need to read it, called Shepherds for Sale. But she actually calls out Russell Moore on this whole thing and addresses the issue. But Donald Trump played a video, or at least his media team played a video, and then after that video played, another video started to play. And it made it into the last little bit, and you would take it as a racist video showing Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, their faces imposed on the bodies of like a gorilla and a chimpanzee, okay? Yeah, the media team should have been more careful, whatever. But Russell Moore, in his absolute, I don't know, I guess you'd call it just propaganda, he pretends as if that was actually the video that Donald Trump posted, as opposed to, hey, this is a video that immediately played after a video that the Trump team posted. And so he screenshots it and posts it, is clutching his pearls, is racist, deranged, humiliating, and everything else. I don't even know what he sounds like. I'm just going to use that voice for Russell Moore from now on. The editor, the chief executive editor over at Christianity Today. And then John Piper, who just can't help himself, has to just jump right in there and give his, very righteous take as well. One, not be so afraid of sounding quasi-woke. And once again, Megan Basham, to her credit, actually addressed the very real issue, calling out the fact that, this was not what it was made out to be. Russell Moore is not being completely honest here. Megan Basham, this was not part of the original video that Donald Trump shared. He shared a video on election fraud, and at the very end, for barely a second, it turned over to this image of an entirely separate video. So are you going to apologize for spreading a false narrative? And so good job for you, Megan Basham. Once again, John Piper, who is a pastor, once upon a time, I guess by some still, a very well-respected pastor, shows his own stripes here by engaging in this propaganda type information war, if you will. Now he'll share. Here you go, February 3rd. You shall not spread a false report. Exodus 23:1. Granted, that is the law, and we're not technically under the law. I would recommend sharing sharing a verse from the Apostle Paul on speaking honestly and truthfully. But yeah, he shares that, and then he has to throw in progressive false or conservative false. So we know the progressive falses, right? The transgenderism, abortion, gay marriage. What exactly is a conservative false? What would you say a conservative false is? Like, what about our worldview? I mean, do you have a critique on just free market? Which conservatism and free market is almost true. There are some overlaps there of government involvement to some degree, I guess, if you look at a lot of conservatives. But what exactly, John Piper, are you referring to there? What is a conservative false? The word of the Lord continued to increase and prevail mightily. Acts 19:20. Lord, let it be in Minneapolis, and Mozambique, and Madrid, and Mumbai, and Mexico City. So, comparing Minneapolis to Mozambique. Minneapolis to Mozambique. Now, granted, Minneapolis is not in very good shape because Minneapolis is run by terrible liberal Democrat governance. But Minneapolis, people rioting, and the available evidence I've seen are these are not just noble, upstanding people. They are intentionally impeding law enforcement. And here's the thing, it's very easy to not get shot by law enforcement if you just do what they tell you to do. If you just do what they tell you to do. So there you go, John Piper throwing in Minneapolis right there with Mozambique. Shares a lot of scripture here. Sometimes it's, it just is what it is. Nothing too political, I suppose. Who is a consistent Christian? Christians care about all suffering, especially eternal suffering, and Christians care about all injustice, especially injustice against God. Okay. I'm really sometimes not a fan of sharing a Bible verse and then giving a brief little comment after that without a whole lot of clarification, because it is so open-ended. Like, what do you mean by that? So John Piper, and post every day, if you look, look at this. January 24th, January 23rd, January 23rd, January 22nd, January 22nd, January 21st, January 21st. Once again, I don't have much. Do you really have that much to say? Now, granted, I know you've got to post somewhat quite a bit to get followers, and that's how this game works. But you've just got to think about these evangelical influencers, and we've had enough of them, okay? We've had enough of them. They are using their position to promote their worldview, which is very often, hey, middle of the road, we're not MAGA, we're not progressive, but we're going to give the progressives the benefit of the doubt. That's just how it works every time. John Piper gives the progressives the benefit of the doubt. Honest Youth Pastor, once again, kind of picking on him because he really is maybe one of the more closer to the middle, and yet once again his knee-jerk reaction is always jump on the conservatives. Let's see here. Amanda says there's some strange things going on with Erica Kirk, and I dare say Charlie Kirk as well. I agreed with most things he said politically, but I think he was trying to unite all religions. I don't know about it, so I can't speak to it as far as what his motives or purpose was. It seemed like when I watched, I wasn't the world's biggest follower of Charlie Kirk. I appreciated what he did, and it made me mad when he was murdered. Maybe so. I don't know. I think that, here's the thing. Charlie Kirk was a political strategist. And I think that he knew that he needed to build a coalition. And so therefore, if he had things he said that came across as a little bit uniting to all religions, say bringing in Muslims together or bringing in, Jewish faith or Jewish religion, what have you, that is maybe why he was saying some of those things. I'm not going to speak to it, though, a whole lot more. I just feel like these people, their lives are so public right now. There's always going to be some new post about it, and people are going to be following it to see what it says or where it leads. But continue to think on these things, investigate these matters. Ken says, what is McPiper's take? Y'all may remember Dave McPiper. Dave McPiper is going to agree with John Piper and David Platt. And I almost feel like, as time goes on, maybe I judged MacArthur too hard by including him wrapped up in the Dave McPiper name. Even though MacArthur, certainly I didn't disagree with him on a lot of doctrine, at least he was not a squishy, squish like John McPiper. John Piper is, all right, or David Platt. He's not a squish like them. John MacArthur was a conservative in his principles, so I'll give him that. Okay, we got Luke with us. Luke says this is Luke. Not sure why it shows on YouTube handle and not name now. Okay, I will remember that now. L for Luke. Okay, everybody, I know we've been rambling for a while. It was on my mind. It made me frustrated. I had some anger about it. And it's frustrating me because these evangelical influencers are seen as great sources of religious thought, of biblical wisdom. And so, wow, when the Honest Youth Pastor speaks, we listen because he's just really got a great sense of what God would have to say about these things, and people really subject themselves to the authority of these influencers, and they share their posts, and they follow them, what great minds and all that. I just think they're kind of a joke. I think that at the end of the day, they know how to appeal to certain people. You've got to be nice enough to the progressives in order to get your stuff promoted. If you come down too conservative, then they don't promote your stuff. And so, hey, how do you get followers? You don't come out and you be very strongly conservative. You come out and you play the middle of the road. That way you can come across as biblical in some ways, but also shame on you mean conservatives for not being nice enough. And also, you are so hypocritical, you Christians who will listen to a Kid Rock song and then you'll talk about Jesus and, oh, whoops, I didn't look at the whole thing. I was just so ready to make my post, because he woke up that day just waiting to say something negative about the Turning Point USA halftime show, and he let his motivations get the best of him, right? So be careful. That's one reason why you don't see me post a lot on X or YouTube. And when I speak about things on Shields and Arrows, maybe to your annoyance, okay? This may annoy you and get on your nerves, and I'm sorry, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I kind of like to wait, because I know that the popular thing is to talk about whatever's happening right now, okay? Whatever the big event is, just talk about it. I could break down everything that was said, or done at the Super Bowl halftime show or whatever, right? It's, fresh on people's minds. But I feel like if you just give it a little bit more time and you wait and see how the dust settles, does somebody take back what they said? And I'm glad the Honest Youth pastor took back what he said. Good for him. Also, you got to figure out where you stand, man. Quit trying to stand in the middle of the road and please progressives by being critical of Trump and claiming that it's good that Tim Walz isn't vice president, but also God is judging America by having Donald Trump as president. Stop sending mixed signals. Just take a position. I think people would appreciate you more if you just took a strong position, okay, instead of trying to appeal to everybody, and therefore you stand for really not anything. Just because you claim biblical truth and Christ doesn't really mean that you are getting a whole lot accomplished, all right, in this world. So those are my positions, my thoughts on this matter for today. I'm going to leave you with that. Tomorrow, I will be doing security at my son's school, so I do apologize. I won't be going live tomorrow. You know how it works. We're a Monday show, we're a Thursday show, we're a Friday show. That's how the week is probably going to play out. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. Hope that you all have a good rest of your day. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to contact me, markdbaze@gmail.com. Right Dividers Defending the Faith is the Facebook group. And with that, I think that's going to be it for today. Please feel free to share the show if you thought it was worth your time. Have a good day, everyone.